There's this specific fantasy that I think pretty much everyone has, especially if you work at a computer. You sit down, open your laptop, and just everything else dissolves. The world just vanishes.
No distractions. No urge to check your phone.
None. And no inner roommate telling you your work is garbage.
Yeah.
You execute. And then you look up and 4 hours are gone.
In a blink. And you've done the best work of your life.
Yes. The elusive flow state.
It's the white whale of productivity. It really is.
It is. And it's sold to us like constantly. My entire social media feed is just people telling me how to hack my flow state.
With mushroom coffee.
Right. But today we're doing something a little different. We're not here to sell the fantasy. We're going to look at the neuroscience of flow.
We have the core text, a whole stack of research.
And we're running a serious reality check. Because the gap between what the gurus say and what the brain scans actually show.
It's a canyon. It's huge.
I was shocked.
And that's really our mission today. We need to separate let's call it the mythology of flow, which is super profitable to sell.
Oh, yeah.
From the empirical reality. What we can actually see in the gray matter when we hook people up.
And to set the stakes on that, the lack of hard data it's kind of stunning.
Yeah.
Our source material points to this systematic review from 2022, Alameda and colleagues, and they went looking for every neuroimaging study on flow ever done.
And you'd think there'd be thousands.
I thought thousands for sure.
They found 25.
25. That's it.
And it gets worse.
How?
Across all 25 of those studies, there were only 471 participants total.
That's tiny. We base major medical decisions on trials with tens of thousands of people.
Exactly. So when you hear someone say flow is a scientifically proven sequence of hacks, just remember they are stretching a very, very thin data set.
It's like trying to map the ocean by looking at a puddle.
So, okay, let's start from the ground up. What are we even talking about?
Yeah.
We have to start with the psychology, with Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi back in the 70s.
Right. And he wasn't looking at office workers.
No, he was studying people doing really difficult, sometimes dangerous things for no obvious reward. Rock climbers, chess masters.
Or surgeons.
Surgeons, yeah. He called it the optimal experience.
And he's the one who pinned down those core feelings, right? The time distortion, where hours feel like minutes.
And the loss of self-consciousness.
And that great word, autotelic.
Autotelic is the key. It's from Greek. Auto, self. Telos, goal.
The activity is its own goal.
Precisely. You're not doing it for the bonus. You're doing it because the act itself feels incredible.
Okay, so that's the feeling. But I want to get under the hood, into the brain. For the longest time, I assumed flow was the brain just, lighting up.
Redlining, maximum power.
Every neuron firing.
And that's the intuitive guess. But the neuroimaging points to the exact opposite.
Really?
Flow isn't about maximum firing. It's about efficiency. It's not about what starts happening. It's about what stops happening.
And that brings us to the default mode network, the DMN.
Mm-hmm.
I hear about this a lot with meditation. What is it?
Think of it as your brain's screensaver, but a really annoying one.
Okay.
It's the network that kicks in when you're not doing anything specific. It's daydreaming, worrying about the future, and this is the big one, thinking about yourself.
It's the me network.
It is. It's the voice in your head going, do I look stupid right now? Or did I remember to send that email?
The inner critic. The nagging roommate.
That's it. And a study in 2016 by Ulrich and his team gave us this huge clue.
What'd they find?
They found that during flow, a major hub of that me network, the medial prefrontal cortex, it just goes quiet. It deactivates.
Oh, wow. That explains everything.
Yeah.
You don't lose your sense of self because you're having some mystical experience. You lose it because the hardware that generates yourself stops nagging you for a while.
It's the brain getting out of its own way.
Yeah.
And this ties into a huge theory called transient hypofrontality.
Okay, that's a mouthful. Let's break that down. Transient is temporary.
Right.
Hypo is under or less. And frontality is the prefrontal cortex.
You got it. The prefrontal cortex is the CEO of the brain. It does the big picture planning, the self-monitoring.
But the CEO is expensive.
Very expensive.
Yeah.
Burns a lot of metabolic energy. So Arne Dietrich's theory is that when you have to do something fast and complex, the brain can't afford the CEO's overhead.
So it sends him on a coffee break.
It downregulates those executive parts to save energy for the doers, the automatic systems.
It's like the CEO leaves the factory floor so the workers can just get the job done.
That's a great analogy, but I have to add a little nuance here.
Okay.
Because it's not a total blackout. A study by Husky in 2021 showed it's more subtle. I mean, if you were truly hypofrontal, You'd be unconscious.
Right, you still have to know what you're doing. A writer still needs high-level function.
Exactly. So they call it selective attenuation. The brain gets flexible. It keeps the parts of the CEO it needs, the ones steering the ship, but it aggressively mutes the self-monitoring parts.
It's turning down the noise to hear the signal.
Perfect.
Okay, so that's the hardware change. The inner critic shuts up. Now let's talk about the software, the chemicals, because this is what you see all over YouTube. The flow cocktail.
Ah, yes. The big five.
Dopamine, norepinephrine, endorphins, anandamide, and serotonin.
Mm-hmm.
And the popular story, which is pushed really hard by some groups.
The Flow Research Collective.
Is this precise, simultaneous flood of all five. It sounds so clean, so scientific.
It's elegant. It makes you feel like if you just do the right things, you'll be Bradley Cooper in Limitless.
Totally.
A great story. But here's the reality check.
Okay.
That specific cocktail. It has never been simultaneously measured in a human being during a flow state.
Wait, what? Never. Not once.
Not once. We don't have a single study where we've had sensors on a person in flow and seen all five of those things spiked together. It's a theoretical model.
So they're just guessing.
They're stitching together adjacent research, what happens during exercise, what happens during arousal, and making a picture that looks right.
That is
Yeah,
a little disappointing.
it is.
But okay, let's look at the pieces. Some of them must be real. What about dopamine?
Dopamine is the strongest candidate. We have good evidence here. A 2013 study by Di Manzano. They used PT scans and found something really interesting.
They weren't just looking at dopamine levels, were they?
No, they were looking at the receptors, specifically D2 dopamine receptors.
In the dorsal striatum.
Yes. And they found that people who are more flow-prone, people who get in the zone easily, just have more of these receptors available.
So their brain is just better wired to receive that job well done signal.
More efficiently, yeah. A dopamine machine is a flow machine.
That makes sense. Okay, what about norepinephrine, the focus chemical?
The evidence here is, let's call it circumstantial.
We see the smoke, but not the fire.
Exactly. We see the downstream effects. When people are in flow, their pupils dilate, their heart rate changes. These are classic signs of the norepinephrine system firing up. But have we stuck a probe in someone's brain during flow to measure it directly? No.
We're just assuming it's there.
We assume.
Okay, now, my favorite one, anandamide, named after the Sanskrit word for bliss, the brain's own THC.
Right. And this is where the science gets really interesting, but also where the myth-making takes over.
This is the runner's high one, right?
For decades, we thought the runner's high was endorphins.
Everyone says that. I'm getting an endorphin rush.
And it's almost certainly wrong. Endorphins are huge molecules. They can't cross the blood-brain barrier very well.
So therefore, the pain in your knees, not the high in your head.
Mostly, yes. A big review in 2023 by Siebers and colleagues points the finger at the endocannabinoid system, at anandamide.
Because it can cross that barrier.
Easily. It's a painkiller and a mood lifter.
Okay, so anandamide is real, but does it happen when you're, like, coding?
And that's the million-dollar question. If you're running, probably. But if you're playing chess, writing a novel,
We have no idea.
we are just assuming that because flow feels good and running feels good, the chemistry must be identical. That is a massive leap of faith.
You're assuming mental flow and physical flow are the same biological event.
And we just don't know that.
And what about oxytocin? It wasn't in the big five, but I saw it in the notes.
Right, that comes up with social flow. A study by Keeler in 2015 looked at group singing.
So when you're flowing with other people.
Exactly.
Oh.
The bonding chemical, oxytocin, seems to play a role. So group flow might have a whole different chemical signature from solo flow.
Which just complicates the neat little cocktail story even more.
It does. And then there's serotonin, the supposed afterglow chemical. The source material is brutal on this one. It's the weakest link. Basically zero direct evidence. It's just a nice way to end this story.
So the five-chemical cocktail is mostly a story. We have dopamine for sure, norepinephrine maybe, and a giant question mark on the rest.
That's a very fair assessment.
This brings me to a study that I found really humbling. It's about jazz guitarists.
Ah, the Rosen and Cuneo study from 2024. My favorite.
It kind of destroys the idea that anyone can just, decide to be in flow.
It's so revealing. They hooked up 32 jazz guitarists to EEGs and just said, improvise.
Just play.
And they saw exactly what we talked about. More activity in the sensory parts of the brain, less activity up in the executive control region.
The CEOs stepped out, the musicians took over.
Yes, but here is the massive detail that everyone misses.
What's that?
This brain pattern. It only happened in the experts.
Only the experts.
The less experienced players, even if they were pretty good, their brains didn't do it. They didn't shift into that efficient mode. Their CEO was still on the factory floor, micromanaging every single note.
That is a huge buzzkill.
It is.
It means you can't just hack your way to flow. You have to earn the right for your brain to do it.
Flow depends on deep implicit knowledge. Your autopilot has to actually know how to fly the plane.
If you're a beginner, the CEO has to stay online because the intern is going to crash it.
You can't shut down the executive if the autopilot is incompetent. It's that simple.
So the state of flow is actually a state of expertise.
In many ways, yeah. It circles back to that challenge skill balance.
Yeah.
The famous 4% rule.
Right. The challenge should be 4% harder than your skill level.
Yeah.
It always sounded so precise.
It's a heuristic,
Huh.
a good rule of thumb. But the JAZZ study suggests that if your absolute skill level is low to begin with, you might not have access to the neural machinery of flow at all.
This all lines up with that flow cycle model.
With the 4 stages.
Yes, and the first stage is the one everyone tries to skip.
The struggle.
The struggle. When you're loading information into your brain, it feels awful. Cortisol is rising. You feel like you're banging your head against a wall.
And we interpret that feeling as, I'm doing it wrong. We think, oh, I need a new app, I need more coffee.
But the model says that struggle is biologically necessary. You have to prime the pump.
It's the friction that creates the fire. You can't get to the release and the flow if you bail out during the struggle.
Speaking of all this, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, that McKinsey claim.
Oh, the 500%.
Executives in flow are 500% more productive. I have seen this everywhere for a decade. Is it real?
It's complicated. It comes from a 2013 McKinsey article. But if you dig into the footnotes, the data is from self-reported surveys from a workshop.
So they just asked people, hey, how much more productive did you feel?
And people said 5 times more. I mean, does flow feel 500% more productive? Absolutely. But is it a controlled scientific finding? No.
It's marketing, not math.
It's a great headline, but it's also an example of what the source material calls the reverse inference problem.
That sounds like a logic trap. What is it?
It's when we look at a brain scan, see a spot go dark, and assume we know exactly what the person is feeling.
So we see the prefrontal cortex go quiet and we say, aha, ego loss.
But that part of the brain does a dozen other things. Just because the lights are off in one room doesn't mean we know why. They could be asleep. Or they could just be watching a movie in the dark.
We're guessing the mental state from the power usage.
You're guessing.
Yeah.
And that's why the field is in what the authors call a metatheoretical crisis. We know the feeling is real, but the neural map is still super blurry.
And there's one last factor from the research stack that's just kind of unfair.
Genetics.
Yeah, the Mosing study from 2012. The one with twins.
Right. They found that your proneness to flow, how easily you can get into it, is about 41% heritable.
41%. That's almost half the equation.
It's a big chunk. It probably goes back to that dopamine receptor density. Some people are just born with better flow hardware.
So if you find it really hard to focus, it might not just be a lack of discipline. You could be fighting your own biology.
It's a factor. But I want to be clear. Heritable doesn't mean fixed. The brain is plastic.
You can train it.
You can absolutely train it. The source mentions a study where just 10 minutes of daily meditation increased flow frequency by 40%.
So we're not doomed by our DNA.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But it takes work. It takes going through that struggle phase.
So let's tie this all together. Let's synthesize. What's the big takeaway?
The synthesis is that flow is a real biological state. But it's not magic.
Right.
It's your brain powering down the self-monitoring systems to save energy so the autopilot can take over.
But the autopilot has to be well programmed first.
That's it. You
Yes.
cannot hack flow in something you're a novice at. The chemicals are the reward for that efficiency, not a trigger you can just pull.
That's the biggest thing for me. We're all looking for the trigger, the supplement, the music, the app, but the real trigger is just getting good at the thing.
The ultimate productivity hack is mastery.
It makes you think of all the people starting new hobbies, hoping to find that immediate bliss, and then quitting when it feels like work.
They're hitting the struggle phase and thinking they've failed. But really, they've just started.
And so here's a final provocative thought for everyone listening, and it comes from that JAZZ study. If the neural signature of flow requires deep expertise to even show up, are we wasting our time trying to be well-rounded? Maybe the only true way to hack flow is to stop jumping from thing to thing and just commit to mastering one.
Depth over breadth. That's where the magic is hiding.
On that note, thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you in the next one.